The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the situation on the front remains extremely acute, particularly in the eastern Donetsk region, where Russia appears to be stepping up an offensive. Well, joining me now for a closer look at what's happening on the ground is the former military intelligence security officer, Philip Ingram. Hello again to you, Philip. Just talk us through, by way of the helpful map that we're going to put on the screen, what is happening on the ground.
Well, taking a slightly bigger picture, if we look at Belarus, and that keeps coming into the commentary, Russia is using Belarus as a place to train those conscripts that we heard being called up and to try and match them up with pieces of equipment, put them into formations because they train them in the units that they want to fight, and then they're taking those formations and moving them around for this spring offensive that we keep hearing lots about. However, where the fighting is happening, the Russians are carrying out little probing attacks around Zaporizhia, artillery attacks further south than that, down to Kherson, and all along the red hatched line where the red dots are that we can see there, probing into the Ukrainian defences to see if there's any weak points that they can look at. Ukrainians are doing a little bit of probing back, but they're holding the Russians in a lot of places.
Yeah, talk us through what's happening on the counter-offensive.
Well, counteroffensive, we keep hearing of this spring offensive. The thing that will be important is the ground, whether the ground's solid enough for armoured formations to go through. But there's thinking in two potential Russian counteroffensives. And they'll want to do this before the Ukrainians get their hands on the Western tanks and infantry fighting vehicles that are coming in. And Putin tends to like anniversaries. So there's a possibility he might do this. Yeah, on exactly a year on. So towards the end of next month, 23rd, 24th, 25th of February, might try and do something. He's moved elements of 2nd Motor Rifle Division from Belarus that's trained into the Lyshansk Oblast. And that gives them two options that people are talking about to counterattack through. One down through Velodar, that we can see south of Donetsk there, and come sweeping through that to try and push out and capture the rest of the Donetsk Oblast. But the other one is, and there's been fighting going on in this area for the last 6 months, through Bakhmut, and exploit any successes that he gets through there.
And just talk us through, we've been focusing a lot, haven't we, on Bakhmut the last few weeks. Just remind us what is happening there and why it's important.
Well, it feels like the last few weeks we've been talking about Bakhmut for over 6 months now. That's the shocking bit about it. And a number of things that are happening. The Russians, a few weeks ago, captured the small town of Soledar to the north with a big salt mine. That was significant. They're now attacking at the moment into Bakhmut itself, but trying to attack around the south. What they're trying to do is circle the city. And if they can circle the city, then they'll then try and close in and push any of the Ukrainian defenders that are in there out. It's interesting what the Ukrainians are doing. They're actually carrying out what I would describe as a fixing military operation. So they want to hold the Russians along Bakhmut so that they focus as much as they can in there and stop them from advancing, slow them down as much as possible. And they don't mind giving a little bit of ground away, trade that space for time. That time is being used to take Ukrainian troops out to go and get them trained on Western tanks, Western infantry fighting vehicles, and prepare for the Ukrainians' counteroffensive. So actually, I think the Ukrainians are successfully holding the Russians there. The Russians are focusing, and we'll see some potential breakthroughs in the coming days or weeks.
And what is, I know you keep an active track of the number of days of this war. How many days are we now in of the 10-day operation?
Yeah, 349 of the 10-day operation. But I'm recalculating that. I've taken that from a number of different sources, and I actually think we might have skipped 10 days somewhere and be 10 days ahead of ourselves. So I'll recalculate that and bring it out next time.
All right, Philip. Thank you very much indeed, as ever.